Welcome back to the PricePlow Podcast. I'm super excited to be joined today by Brooks Thomas and Nate Frazier. If you guys are a longtime listener to the podcast, you'll remember Nate Frazier from episode 98 at the GNC show, I think like 3 years ago in Vegas. It's been a little bit. We've been keeping up with Nate over the years, and Brooks is obviously a newcomer to the podcast. We're really excited to get into talking about a really exciting new food today. So Brooks and Nate, thank you guys for joining us. I guess we should start with Brooks, since everyone's pretty aware of Nate. Nate's a big name. Brooks, can we talk about how you got here with Gym Snack?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we've been at it for almost a year now, a year plus when it comes to like getting into R&D of Gym Snack. But Louisville Brands is kind of a larger umbrella under which Gym Snack lives. I'm a marketing guy there. We've got a couple other different plant-based foods that run out of a manufacturing facility that we own, and that allows us to be very flexible. It's also allowed us to do some really cool things quickly. We also do some things on the beverage side. I've been a marketer by trade for more than most of my career, probably going on a couple decades now. And really excited about what we were bringing to market with Gym Snack, and really excited to share with you guys. You've been shared with the snack and some of the apparel, so I'm eager to get the lightning round from you all on how it's going and talk a bit more about where we're going.
Yeah, I would love to have some Gym Snack here for the episode, but first off, crunching on the show would probably not be polite, and second, it's all gone because I eat basically one bag a day once I have them, and then they're gone. So you have an incredible thing here. I'll let you talk about your product, but for those who are listening, it's basically a very high protein leveraged snack in a bag, around 30 grams of protein per bag. It's not marketed as vegan, but it is a plant-based product. So basically anyone can enjoy this, and the carbs and fats are not too high. So you have a lot of protein and a lot of good salty umami flavor. It's killer. It's just so good. So that's what we're here to talk about. Nate, welcome back. What have you been doing? It's been
good to be back, gang. Happy New Year to everybody on the podcast. Anybody listening, at least in the month of January. If you listen to this in the summer, which I hope you do, please forgive my calendaring here. But yeah, really thrilled to be back. I love you guys. I love PricePlow. I'm a avid listener, sometimes contributor, and an occasional creep in your Discord. So thank you for that, guys. But yeah, so I had the good fortune to team up with Brooks, the Louisville Brands, the Louisville Foods folks, particularly for Gym Snack, and was just really excited about it, guys. I know, at least this group, and then probably a lot of folks that are listening to this. I've been very fortunate to be the intersection of a lot of powerhouse brands that have launched over the last 10 years. And primarily, usually in the, delivering them to the consumer, and whether that was retail, franchise, wholesale, DTC, direct sales, a number of things. It's given me a great sort of viewpoint on where we are as a sort of fitness culture, where we are as, at least in the U.S., around our approach and our thought process and our relationship with food. And a lot of that's changing, and you guys have done a great job of diving into that, particularly over the last few months with what's happening, with the sort of the avoidance of artificial fillers and colors and sugars and things like that. And Brooks and I are zealots about that too. And so whenever I got the chance to connect with the Louisville Foods folks, we had this opportunity to really drive into something that I thought was not a fad, but it was a trend, and really take advantage of some real, what I felt like was really clear white space. And so, just really excited about Gym Snack. We've been very thoughtful about its expansion. We started on the website, then we went to Amazon. We've recently launched in Pantry, and that's really cool. And then we're prepping a very significant retail rollout here at the end of the quarter here in sort of that March, April timeframe. And so, really excited to talk about it, and happy to dive in wherever you guys would like. And just really proud to be, supporting a U.S. manufacturer, particularly in Louisville, Kentucky, which is my home state too. So happy to dive in wherever you guys would like.
Excellent. I guess Brooks, we should start with kind of the problem statement. And this maybe even predated Jim Snack? I'm not sure if Louisville Brands came first or what, but what was the problem that you started seeing that made you jump out of whatever you were doing before and into this?
It was pretty easy. It was just going and looking at the marketplace and seeing that everything was chewy, gummy, sweet. A lot of bars out there, a lot of, non-savory snacks. And the savory snacks usually had to sacrifice something in order to achieve a flavor or some sort of profile that they thought the consumer would want. And we went out there and said, there's not enough savory snacks that actually meet the profile that, fitness, active lifestyle people need. And so we started to conquest it. And in full transparency, our first initial goings were focused on soy. And then, it wasn't something that we necessarily wanted to use. It was kind of by virtue of what's available to us. And then we went and did a lot of trialing and came back and said, okay, the way that soy is processed or made is not something that is finding its way into this marketplace favorably. We need to do something differently. And so we started to continue to put, pencils to paper, and pea protein was something that we found to be very underutilized. It does not sacrifice the flavor. It very much has the branched chain aminos that we all need, and is a really good foundational ingredient. So we took the pea protein. We did go through a couple different providers to bring in that extruded pea protein to a point where we could go and play with it with all the flavors and seasonings. Everything that we use is a real ingredient. It's a clean ingredient. And so there's nothing really to be afraid of on our labeling. And we found we were able to give it the flavor it needed, or that we felt it needed, by pairing with our in-house chef, trained chef, who does a lot of really great work across our different, portfolio of brands. And Jim Snack was able to come out with, 3 distinct flavors in jalapeno cheddar cheese, regular cheddar cheese, and our newest one, everything bagel, because that was also something when we were looking at it, cheddar cheese and jalapeno cheddar cheese, we were starting to go and poll people. And we got these early morning workout folks who were like, hey, these are great. These are amazing. But I'd like something that is a little bit more conducive to a morning workout. And it was pretty immediate. We were like, oh, we got an everything bagel flavor that would absolutely crush. And so went into the lab and came out with something, in the kitchen, came out with something that we really felt comfortable with.
That's exactly what I was going to ask, is when you first started tinkering with this, were you doing this just in a kitchen, mixing it, or do you need like the extrusion equipment on hand to actually get the recipe going? How does the
We don't have the extrusion equipment in our facility. We bring the already extruded product into our facility, but the kitchen that we have in R&D then is a complete open book. It's a blank slate. It's whatever we want to do to go and play with a bunch of flavors. And our facility, it's a vegan certified facility. It's non-GMO. With exception to soy, it's allergen free and it doesn't cross contaminate. And so when we're going in and putting Jim Snack on the line, it's not interacting with anything that has a soy residue or anything like that. So we really are like highly intentional, almost to a T. We have to be. We can't bring certain ingredients in, like dairy and things like that, because we would lose our certifications. And we are a safe food quality certified facility, which is wildly you have to go through a lot of different hoops there, where it's even like there's a yearly audit that challenges your daily ethos of how we operate. It's everything that we do. We have controlled documents of why we do it. It even goes into like when they come in, they'll pick out a random product. They'll ask for the lot number. They'll go into the depths of what ingredients were used, go show us those ingredients. They'll also go in who was on the line during that day. How were they trained? Was the person who trained them trained? When was their last certification or recertification? It just gets very in depth in terms of making sure that we're abiding by this very, very strict guideline and processes. And we want that. That's something that helps to keep us honest and allows us to be able to feel comfortable with how we're, talking about our processes and practices to the consumer. We feel really good about it.
Awesome. So just for the people reading who haven't seen, we do have an article talking about this. Can you kind of look at that bag, get us through the main macros, the calories, carbs, protein, fat, all that stuff, and then some of the key ingredients? You've mentioned pea protein, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you get into like 30 grams of protein you hit right off the nail. And we've been kind of going through different types of pea protein until we landed on the one that's got us at our current panel. We've got 170 calories per serving, so that the ratio that we're looking at across calories and protein is pretty good. We really feel good about those macros. And total fat, 7 grams, 9% of your daily value, 0 trans fats. We're looking at 0 milligrams of cholesterol. Of course, there's no cholesterol in there. It's not a meat product. Sodium is actually really tolerable for what we have to do with the ingredients. We have to put a lot of different ingredients that do help from binding, from flavor and texture, that do take the sodium up a little bit, but it's very manageable, especially if you're incorporating it into a workout routine and you're hydrating alongside your intake of the product. You also have 10 grams of total carbohydrates. We think that we've got a pretty good carb profile. Well, it's a very low carb snack. It's not something that's meant for, it's for high intensity. It's not necessarily like you're going to eat a bowl of pasta and go on like a 50-mile bike ride. But it otherwise is very functional in terms of high intensity, high protein intake to meet your protein goals and experience that real fullness. We're not touting it like replacing a meal. It's not supposed to do that. It is supposed to keep you going post-workout, or if you're on the go, or if it's like the options are the vending machine or the break room or starving. This is going to 10 times out of 10 be the preferred snack over any of those other options.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so people are clear on the numbers you were listing, so in terms of like carbs and fats and stuff, that's compared up to against the half serving size, 15 grams of protein.
Correct.
So like so it looks like you have a couple more carbs, which is no big deal in the new everything bagel flavor. The image we have on our blog, I also want to point out. So in each serving, 15 grams of protein is up against 7 grams of carbs, 7 grams of fat, which means I have more grams of protein compared to total grams of other stuff. Basically, your protein to energy ratio is highly protein leveraged. And if you were to eat like those kinds of macros throughout the whole day, it's almost impossible to get fat. Like that's kind of what I've, and of course nothing's impossible around it these days, but like that's kind of what I've discovered in general. So highly protein leveraged, plus a couple of those grams of carbs or even fiber. So the active carbs is even lower. So that's
it's funny you said I nerfed the, I totally failed the quiz because I chose the bag that has the slightly higher ones than the Cheddar ones do.
Well, I mean, some people are, if you're still maniacally counting carbs that much, then I don't know, just sit on the treadmill for another 2 minutes, but overall it's overall the whole point is that you have a very high protein, salty, savory snack here. And to me, it's like there's sometimes you just don't want a chewy, sweet protein bar or anything sweet in general. I'm not sure if you're planning on, maybe you can jam a lot of sweetness onto this, but it seems like the pea protein kind of caters to a more savory type of snack.
Yeah, I'll mention one thing, Brooks, just to kind of fill in, a couple other notes really quickly. So the reason we're able to outperform a lot of the similar products in the space is because we balance the pea protein with a nutritional yeast, which is completely natural as well, guys. So that actually pumps up that ratio. It improves it. And it worked great for us because we are savory. So that nutritional yeast also gives it that cheesy flavor, that umami flavor is where that comes from without dairy. So when we say we're allergen free, we are truly allergen free on this as well. And then and I know we talked about this a little bit, regardless of where you fall on the, political spectrum about seed oils, I think we can all agree that olive oil is the best. And that's why we leaned into this. And so you have this opportunity to sort of build something that we like to eat too. And so we've avoided a lot of these controversial ingredients because we know we could do it better. We know it can make it taste better. We know it can perform better if you're using things that are natural. And that's, to Brooke's point, that's why we're not going to sacrifice on it. We're not going to put anything artificial in it, nothing fake, nothing gross. I talked to you guys a while back, particularly about the vegan sugar that's in it. And although it's very low sugar, it's a very low sugar product, that was really important to us too, because when you start getting into white sugar and a lot of traditionals and bone char, I mean, stuff is gross. It's gross, guys, when you go in and do it. And we didn't want to put artificial sweeteners in there and things like that. And we're big believers, and I know this audience is too, with doing it the right way. And so that was really exciting to us. And so, to Brooks' point, we've got a great macro. It tastes phenomenal. It's real. It's easy on your gut. In fact, it's probably better for you than a lot of things that you're doing because of the fiber, sort of balance out there. And and we're doing it the way that the earth does it. And so we're really proud of that too.
Yeah. Okay. So can you take us through, was choosing olive oil, like why don't more companies choose olive oil? I know there's some potato chips out there that have it and everything. Is it just a simple cost thing? Because obviously it does look good on the label. So
it is. And it's good too, guys. I mean, there, of course. Yeah. So olive oil, to bring high quality olive oil in, it is more expensive. It's way more expensive than peanut oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, whatever you want to call it to hide it on your label. It's way more expensive than that. And so, but it cooks very nicely. It cooks very even. It tastes great, right? I mean, that's why we've used it for 2,000 years, guys, in all honesty, out there too. And just, so it was really important to us. I think it held up our goals and what we were trying to do in a really sort of honest way too.
Awesome.
Yeah, it follows the ethos of how we were trying to build a product. We don't want to go and cut these corners because there's just like a more affordable, maybe, slightly less good for you solution. We wanted to put the perfect combination together. And we're still, I say perfect. It's never perfect. We're continuously improving it and trying to get better at it, sourcing better ingredients, looking at different things that we can do with the new flavors and being very cognizant of how we can continue to improve the macro profile without sacrificing the flavor profile.
Okay. And so you have this extruded snack. Now, it's hard to describe the actual pieces that come out because it's not really, you're not making shapes or squares. They're kind of just, it is what it is. Can you explain, like, I guess there's a slight education hump we would need to get over, like in terms of the extruded pieces.
Yeah, it's like, because it's hard to call it a chip because it's not a chip, and it's hard to call it like, yeah, it's not. There are little pieces that kind of like are in between like a Chex Mixy kind of profile and a chip. And they're
can you show them?
crunchy.
Can you open that bag and show?
Yeah.
Might as well for the people watching on YouTube.
Give it a rip, right?
It is interesting, Mike. It's different, and I've had all sorts of different ways to explain it, but it satiates like that savory kind of chip idea, but because of the way that the extrusion works, it's just a lot easier to manage. So
there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it is not as long or wide as a chip, but it is certainly thicker than
right.
one.
It's they're like chunks. If it's like protein chunks, and they're I love the stuff. As anyone listening can tell, it's kind of fun. There he goes. So I haven't tried the everything bagel. I'm excited to get that. Okay, so and when we first got it, like you mentioned Chex Mix, and Spencer actually said, like, what this reminds me of that we could do with this would be like puppy chow. I don't know if you guys have ever had that, where if you have peanut butter, chocolate, powdered sugar into Chex Mix, it's like glorious. But are you able to take this profile and do sweet, or are you like anti-sweet? Are you just staying on the salty savory train, or is it just because of how these ingredients work?
We're not anti-sweet. It's just obviously there's different flavor profiles for different occasions for different people, and so like when we're going and looking at what we think we can fill a gap, sweetness isn't necessarily where we thought we could fill the gap immediately. And so it's not something we necessarily felt like was the most appropriate thing to go out with, especially relative to the amount of flavors that we had already done in R&D. They're savory. But that does not mean by any measure of the imagination that we won't explore sweet flavors in the future. And certainly with pea protein, it doesn't mean we can't have sweet flavors. There might be a little bit more of a complexity in terms of the balance that we're looking for and the types of like the kind of combination of ingredients to get us there. And we've talked about, all right, how do we pair it with different things where it is more of a mix? Would that be a completely different brand? Maybe. But there's also the opportunity for us to look at like, okay, the combination of different things that elevate the, again, it's always going to come down for us. macro profile, flavor profile, how are we making sure that we're maintaining the integrity of both without losing the integrity of our message and losing the integrity of like our whole company mission for Jim Snack.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, yeah, on that point, I kind of wanted to talk about the name of the company, and I'm not sure where Nate got involved or when, but I like these so much. I wonder, like, are you pigeonholing yourself with Gym Snack? Because it seems like, people outside of the gym are going to like this as well. Anyone who likes salty snacks can like this. So what was the overall plan in terms of you're hitting fitness first? It kind of seems like with the protein, which does make sense. Can you kind of walk us through like the general marketing strategy that you're willing to share?
I mean, I think like it's colloquial for one. I don't think that it's necessarily meant to be taken literally. Like you can't, like you're going to get like struck by lightning if you leave a gym and have it outside, I think it's more about that mentality of you versus you and that active lifestyle of like incremental improvement and how Gym Snack can help you enhance that and keep you in that mentality. Cause you pick up the bag and you're somebody who's trying to stay on track. You're reminded even just by the brand name that you're trying to hit goals. Whether you are a high intensity fitness person or somebody who is a couch to 5K on the first day of the app, it can work for you. And I think that's the whole mode we're going for. It really, truly is you versus you. And we don't want the snack to come in as a competitor. We want it to be a sidecar. We want it to be helping to fuel your performance. And so I don't believe it pigeonholes us. I actually think it's a very general term that can be interpreted in so many different ways. When you think about Gym Snack, I mean, again, like we were joking before we went recording on the apparel and how there's a double entendre with even wearing a shirt that says Gym Snack on it. Like, are you referring to yourself? Are you like an egomaniac or what? This is open for interpretation.
Yeah. So and we love those shirts, by the way. So Ben did lose power. I think he'll jump back on. But before the call, he mentioned that no shirt has ever gotten more crazy comments than when he wears Gym Snack. And
and I can say like we knew we needed to bring Nate on very early on, and he's been on this ride from nearly day one because we want to live this ethos, and we needed seasoned veterans in the space, and we have to walk it, we have to live it, we have to get checked by professionals, and we don't, because I am a more of a flexitarian than a vegan. I'm probably maybe more of a marketer than somebody who works out, fanatically. But I want to be better. Just like, I'm probably one of those like middling, probably more couch to 5K than I am, going into a CrossFit gym. It's been many years since I've been on a regular routine like that. And so, we knew we wanted to validate this with the fitness audience and a very active lifestyle audience first and foremost. And who better to partner with than Nate to help us along that track to make sure that we were keeping ourselves honest. And he's been very good in challenging, certain decisions that we make along the way in terms of bag size, in terms of the amount of protein we really truly want to pack in this thing, in terms of the sacrifices that we might have wanted to make to get it to a higher gram of protein versus really fitting into a macro profile that makes people feel good about how it works into their lifestyle.
Yeah. Nate, can you kind of chime in on when you walked into this, like what you saw? And I'm kind of interested in, you do have like a retail background. You decided to go direct first, then Amazon, and now you're exploring more. So I want to talk about both those things. Were you part of the whole, like, we got to go after 30 grams of protein? Because in general, like the average protein powder scoop is 20 to 24 grams of protein. You might have been able to get away with 24, but there's something pretty cool about 30, So
yeah, 30 is powerful. I think the industry over the last 3-ish years has started pushing that envelope north of that. Shakes for sure, like without a doubt. Some bars, right? And then we ran into this really strange period, probably pre-COVID, where I think a lot of people were wrestling with meal replacement level fat, calorie, protein. And so we diverted back to the bar again, right? And so I think that's part of it. We had this, really the R&D team, we had our team, we really poured over this idea of, what's the right message? Like, can we keep the calories low enough to where it truly is a snack, but keep the protein high enough where we were really in love with the ratio? And, I know PricePlow is really hot on the fiber train right now. We are too, but be able to balance that out, because there's so many protein snacks out there that are using an inferior protein source. It creates all sorts of GI issues. Some people flat can't even eat it. And that some of that's sweetener, artificial sweetener, some of it's using cheap protein sources. And I know that for sure. And nobody can argue with me on that. And if they can, call my cell phone and I'll teach you a lesson as we go through this. And so we're using high quality everything in a way that we as humans and our biology allows us to absorb this for benefit. And to do it in a way that we've eaten for thousands and thousands of years. And so that's part of the reason I was really excited about it. Brooks and his team at Louisville Brands and Louisville Foods are amazing to work with. They are zealots in the best way. They're a great group. They're really fun. I've had a relationship with their CEO for a lot of years and been able to work on some really cool projects with them in the past, and got sort of reintroduced to this group and just love what they were doing. And I would encourage anybody that's listening to hop on their website, hop on the other things that are out there, even if you're just interested in some of the other gaps that they're leaning into. Brooks has this is going to sound really funny probably to this audience when I say this, but they've got the #1 vegan jerky in the United States right now. They have excellent retail placement. It is growing. They just had their best month ever. They got a lot to beat their chest on there. They got a great beverage division, some really interesting things to do it. A lot of things that they're doing that are sort of maybe avant-garde, a little bit off the written page in Kentucky, but they're leaning into bourbon and some things like that too. And just doing it with some attitude and some opinion. And I just really dig that. And Mike, I think you and Ben both know, I like people that have conviction and that have an opinion, even if I don't agree with them.
Right.
I one of the things that drives me nuts in our space, in this sort of fitness, sports space, is there's so many people just reiterating the same nonsense over and over again, or just copying another brand and white labeling it and replicating that. All that does is that suffers all of us in totality whenever that happens. And so I like the idea of doing something new that's not just another Me Too brand that we're going to stick on an end cap somewhere, and doing something that I think has the right to win and should win because it's better. And so I just think we hit on a sort of a stroke of genius with how some of the ingredients work together. Timing was great because we chose some lanes at the same time that certain things got really out of vogue in some of the ingredients, and things are driving in there too. And so, for us, we needed to sort of build this in a really smart way. And we've all had enough experience in scaling and distribution and things like that where, we knew we wanted to avoid some of the mistakes that startup brands make out there too. And we're probably experienced enough to do that. And so it certainly helps us because we own the manufacturing out there. So it's pretty easy for us to staff in and staff out. And then we wanted to validate some of the things that we felt personally were true. And that's why we started on the website. Then we went to Amazon. We had a great response from Amazon. And then we wanted to make sure that we had the formula nailed. And we liked the line we were drawing in the sand at that 30 grams because you're right. I mean, scoop protein's going to be in the 20s. Most protein bars are in the 20s. Basically, everybody that's going to be, sort of generally considered a direct competitor to us is 25 or below. And we wanted a value proposition where it said, hey, if you've got the opportunity to pay the exact same retail, pick us because we're cleaner, we taste better, and we've got better macros. And it's not any more complex than that.
Awesome.
I might add, Mike, I know this isn't a marketing podcast, but it was a lot easier for us.
We have lots of marketers that listen to this and within the industry, and we're all wanting to learn. That's why we're here. So
right. Well, I mean,
you are the chief marketing officer of Louisville Brands, right?
Yeah. And so we're if we were to emphasize our backgrounds and where our areas of expertise truly are in terms of just like specialization, e-commerce has been something that we've all been, doing for a while. And so for us, building in public from an e-com perspective, there's no better way, in my opinion, to sample initially than through these creator networks and like TikTok. affiliate center, just because, you can very rapidly get your product into people's hands, and there's content as a currency because they're going to, have their reviews, good, bad, or ugly. We've seen all of it, and that helped us to improve. I mean, it really truly is like, okay, I'm going to give it to somebody who is, if I was to get, 24 people off the street from all different walks of life, ages, backgrounds, etc., that's kind of what I'm doing when I go and say, okay, I'm going to go and choose all these different creators that are going to have an obligation to produce a piece of content in exchange for receiving the product, but they are not under any obligation to say they like it. And so that really is helpful when you think about all of the different consumer research gating that's happened in corporate America over the years. It's cost prohibitive. It takes a long time. There's a lot of bureaucracy and politics in it sometimes. That this is like a direct to consumer. It's like a direct to sampling kind of exercise that gives you the same insights that you're going to get setting up, near an end cap in a grocery store, but with the benefits of content that can, at its worst, in terms of how it's received, is going to help you get better, and at its best is going to potentially cause you virality that allows you to then go and use it in advertising. So I think those are win-win. I mean, because we need to be kept honest, and if we would put a shitty product out there, we need to get better at it, and we're going to do it. Because why in the heck would I go and get completely roasted on social proof, which has a very long-lasting effect on the brand, and not get better and just say, I'm just gonna continue to just block out the noise of all these people telling me what they want to see, eventually potentially in aggregate. I'd rather get ahead of it, learn, and figure out how to improve the product, and then go and say, hey, Nate, I think we're ready for retail now. And that's exactly what we've done. Awesome.
Okay, and so with Louisville Brands, you already have a couple food-based brands, such as the Louisville Jerky. I saw Pumps, I think Pumpkin Seed, which is a pretty cool name, Pumpkin Seed product or whatever. So you're pretty good already at spinning up Shopify site, setting things up on the back end, manufacturing. And this is another venture, obviously different manufacturing. And then but we hadn't talked about TikTok until you brought it up. So on TikTok Shop, what is the strategy there in terms of, are you enabling people to get their money back if they create 2 affiliate sales or something like that? Because I've seen that be done. What is your favorite strategy?
We're not going to make people buy the product. I know there's where you're promising, I'm going to send you the product and you're going to pay for it up front, but then you got to go and do a certain criteria, meet the criteria, and then we'll refund you your product. Ours is a free sampling. Of course, we're going and reaching out to people. We do get requests, and the sample requests, depending on what we're trying to achieve, might get approved. I will say we've looked at, TikTok is a insatiable beast. I think anybody who is in marketing that listens to this podcast is going to agree. It's been a very hard nut to crack for a lot of people. It takes a lot of stamina and endurance to get over the hill to really figure out the flywheel. And we're actually getting into the consolidation phase that I feel pretty comfortable talking about, of we've had these different outposts per brand that we are now looking to consolidate under the Louisville Brands umbrella. Because if you think about a platform like TikTok, especially with CPG, putting up a grocery store environment is probably more advantageous for us, especially when it comes to how the TikTok algorithm is kind of putting stuff in front of people and how they consume content. You're not really going to a brand profile. You're not really going and looking at a curated shop. Nobody's going to see Louisville Jerky next to Jim Snack, next to Pumps, and be like, why is it this way? They have the freedom of choice. They can click through. They can purchase what they want. And if there's things that resonate with them from a content perspective, hopefully it shows up in their feed and we achieve what we are meaning to achieve. And I don't think that they're going to have all that other noise from all those other brands encroaching them. Maybe they start to click in and learn things about the other things that we're doing. And I see that as an added benefit. Again, it's volume game right now. And so it's very much to our benefit to go and pump out as much content as we can. And I don't want to do that in an obligatory fashion where it dulls the content or the narrative and so forth. Not that I think there needs to be this fine-tuned red thread for everything on TikTok. I think it's very, very much like in the moment, short form consumption. But I do think that, the way that it's working now, if I can take all of these brands and have their individual content strategies kind of living under a singular umbrella in that channel, it allows me to kind of unite all of them for a greater whole that's more beneficial to us than I might do on Meta through Instagram or Facebook or even on YouTube, etc., where it needs to be a little bit more of a ironclad storefront per brand right now.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, this is where the world's going, so you got to go with it in ways. If you're on TikTok Shop or TikTok and you're looking at creators that you'd like to offer a free sample of Gym Snack to, who is kind of the criteria? Are you going after the athletes who don't care about like vegan versus meat, or are you going more after vegans or a little bit of everything? Who are your top kind of people?
I think when it comes to like how we're the embodiment of the profile, I still want to make sure that we're validating it with the nucleus. And the nucleus for me is very high protein fitness profiles, whether vegan or not. I don't particularly have I'm not just Gym Snack's a snack. It is not meant to just say like, if you are not vegan, don't try it. And we're not even marketing it with a vegan emphasis because it's like a potato chip. It's not, you're not looking at it from the perspective. I mean, it's not like a potato chip from benefits perspective, but certainly from the ambiguity of what the snack is classified as. We're not trying to like say it has to be this. It's just a snack that's meant to boost your performance and fuel it. So from the perspective of who we're looking for, if we have a really targeted campaign where I'm really looking to brief on a certain piece of content or lifestyle, then it's going to be the people who fit that criteria. And there might be a follower count or an engagement rate that I'm really wanting to hone in on. But when it comes to like general population, and I just want market research and feedback, I'm going to put it everywhere. I'm going to put it to anyone as long as there's, again, that sort of like minimally viable criteria, so that I'm not just like, I don't want to be Forrest and Bubba in the first endeavor on the shrimp boat where they're like getting the old boot and like all the other crap and like a few shrimp. Like I want to be a little bit more calculated about it. Mike, but I also still want to be in the open water and not in like this very controlled environment.
Mike, I'll say this. Brooks is excellent at this. He, before Louisville Foods and before Functional Foods, he's had some great products and great brands that he's been responsible for that you probably know and have seen across Instagram and maybe some of the other ones out there that just have great style and great storytelling. So we're cracking that right now. I think it's a good question. We started, our penetration was very highly vegan, but it's because they already had a relationship in that space. And so we're very rapidly picking up what you or I would consider traditional fitness, sport, bodybuilding, stuff like that. So,
no, yeah, it all makes sense. I think one thing we haven't talked about here also, a lot of people chasing protein, the GLP-1 market. So I think the stars aligned in terms of the timing. A lot of us, I mean, I've been anti-seed oil since like 2017 or something, but it takes time to watch these things go throughout and make it to, we'll just call them the mommy bloggers or whatever, the people that are the spenders, we'll say. And so you hit that well-timed and everything, but then having a high protein snack when people are just not as hungry in general and maybe not eating as much cheese, which has come up in a recent podcast we had with Glambia talking about food, is that you have something here that provides that satiety factor, the umami sensation that cheese often provides, and then of course the protein, which everyone realizes they need. So are you doing anything with the GLP-1? I think you do have a page on your website about it.
Yeah,
Is this part of the story?
Nate can go into this more because he actually was one of the ones that very early on was like, hey, you don't want to sleep on this digestive profile. The combination of the amino acid enhancement or benefits and fiber is really working well for us here. And to your point, it's something that we do believe supports that lifestyle. Obviously, it's not meant to be, from a see your doctor type thing. Like, I'm not gonna go and tell you that, like, hey, go and have gym snack for this, that, and the other. But it absolutely, when you look at all of those things that can support a GLP-1 lifestyle, gym snacks got them.
Mm-hmm. Mike, look, I'll say one other thing. Really, this is yes. Originally, when we started to launch the product, you guys will remember about a little over a year ago, I launched an all-natural GLP-1 product.
Yeah,
and it was a GLP-1 booster, and I felt really good about it. We had amazing clinicals. Mm-hmm. It was a smash hit. I learned a lot about akkermansia and about gut lining and around how bioflavonoids work and everything that went around it. And one of the things that really sort of stuck with me is, our digestion is in such a strange place in sort of this modern era, mm-hmm. right? Because for the last 20 to 40 years, we've been eating a lot of things artificial, a lot of things that aren't meant for humans, a lot of things we probably are fortunately moving away from at this point. And so to Brooks' call out there, you can't constantly eat, right? You can't eat all day, every day, because that wrecks your digestion and it wrecks your metabolism and your GLP-1. Part of the magic around the GLP-1 drugs is because it keeps you fuller longer. The problem with that is it's also slowing your digestion down. We're almost the opposite of that because we're giving you a very clean fiber, which keeps your GI in check. We're not putting anything artificial in there to wreck your gut lining on top of that. So if you're looking at that in conjunction with just a normal balanced diet, or if you're looking at it in conjunction with a snack that you can take while you're on a GLP-1, that's not going to make you miserable, I think we tick all those boxes because it actually improves your digestion on top of it. So we've got some really interesting plans on how we're going to validate some things that probably not quite ready to share on the podcast out there, but probably won't surprise anybody because, it's everything we're using is natural in the product. So
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you say validate things, are you talking about like a clinical study almost?
Yeah.
Or? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because we're exploring some things there with a couple of universities I've got great relationships with that I think we can tell a really powerful story, especially in conjunction with what's available in the market today.
We're excited to see that with any finished product. We've said this many times on the podcast in terms of supplements and everything. And of course, you got to have studies if you have a branded ingredient. That's pretty much where it has to go. But are there that many food products that actually have studies on the food itself? Has that been done too many times by other people?
There's not a lot out there. I think, for a multitude of reasons, right? We can't claim that you can do, solve anything that's in disease state. You've got to be really smart about how you can walk in there. That said, there are really interesting groups right now and sort of clinicals, a lot of science happening around, really around what a whole food source can do for your digestion. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're really into. And we all know about some of the negative things that have come out, particularly over the last 10 years, with a lot of the artificial colors, sweeteners, a lot of the other things that are going in there, and the destructive nature of that. And so I think there's a good cross-section there. I don't know. We'll see what it ends up in. It may never see the light of day. It may just be more validation for us that we picked the right lane as we go into it. But I think that there's a great story to tell, especially with everything that's happening in the U.S., around this sort of movement for cleaner, whole foods, eating things in the right way in a time period where Europe's already ahead of us, Australia's already ahead of us, and being able to validate that. I know it's cliche, but food is medicine, right? But we can validate that in a real, with some real scientific rigor around that too. And then, to your point, there are, if you're looking to boost your GLP-1 naturally, there are ways to do that. And then if you're looking to protect your body while you're on, GLP-1 shot, there are natural ways to do that too.
Yeah. Okay. And so, in terms of if you were going to get a study, like just knowing the 30 grams of protein alone, you're probably going to get some like decent endpoints on body composition, muscle strength, and everything. Same as what you would have with a scoop, 30 grams of pea protein. We have studies on that already. So
That's right.
I'm assuming it would be similar, but you're actually talking about gut health and everything. Yeah. The 4 grams of fiber that's in each bag doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like 14, 15% of of the daily recommendation, which really can move the needle. That does move the needle for a lot of people. Like as we've gotten so many more processed carbs, we have definitely removed the fiber. If someone's not eating enough fruits and vegetables, I supplement fiber at this point and everything. So, right. And a lot of people I think are coming back to it. Whereas, for a while, the low carb and even like these carnivore communities and stuff, they're anti-fiber. To me, the data, first off, do it makes you feel best, really. But to me, the data is way too powerful in favor of having fiber. I think it is something that it's beneficial for a vastly more people than it is not. And there might be some corner cases where it isn't the best, but I don't eat Gym Snack thinking about the 4 grams of fiber. I eat it thinking of 30 grams of protein, really good taste. But having that fiber in there is so much better because I don't know, if you eat potato chips, I don't think you're going to get that much, So it's like,
no, you're not.
Truly isn't better.
And you're not going to get that much in most of the competition either in our space, right? Because you're going in a high protein snack, right? Listen, for years, guys, I sold high protein products, powders, bars, things like that we had to put a digestive enzyme in. Mm-hmm. That's not an accident, right? Like we don't want people to feel like crap, right? Like you're doing this because you want to feel better, you want to look better, you want to act better, you want to be more productive, and it's a balancing act. With Gym Snack, we don't have to do that because we're using clean ingredients, all natural. It's a pea source outside of that, which is where a lot of the fiber comes from. Mm-hmm. It's a vegetable, guys. At the end of the day, out there, you feel better on it. Like guys, I mean that's part of, sometimes I eat things that are high protein and I know I need it because I need to hit my goals, but I don't feel great like at 3 p.m. I don't want to sell something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would add, we've got a lot of trials that we've done with local gyms. We've got kind of like a council that we've put together of gym owners, and it's a bunch of different gym profiles, from like a CrossFit gym to a Pilates studio. So that, we're understanding how they're incorporating the snack into their lifestyle, and it validates everything that Nate just said, is that it does have that real fullness, that satiety really is coming through in a palpable way where people don't feel like they're bogged down. They don't feel foggy or lethargic. They really do feel like it's invigorating or keeping them, energized in a non-crash sort of orientation.
Okay. I have a question. My electricity went out. And the whole half hour I was like thinking about this. So consumers are really sick and tired of like this protein fortification, like just everything. Like, like Pop-Tarts have a protein version now. Not to say that I don't believe in your product. I like your product. But when you believe in your product and when you feel the way you do about your product, like how do you show up with your product within that wave of like fatigue around protein?
Brooks, you want me to take that?
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot, the whole entire space there that, and so you know the fatigue probably a little bit more than I even do.
So Ben, look, like, I'm going to answer this in 2 ways. Okay. First of all, so, there's a clear difference between trend and fad here. Okay. When GLP-1s really took off a few years ago and Wall Street started to realize that, grocers were selling less garbage, a lot of the traditional CPG brands needed to do something to bridge that gap. So you saw this crazy wave come in of protein. I mean, it's protein Snickers, protein Starbucks, protein Pop-Tarts is a great example of that out there. And then you saw this whiplash of, and you guys live it, you're in this space. I mean, whey protein price per kilo is insane right now, guys.
We had to get into
and I do a lot of work on the manufacturing side. I support a lot of other folks that have been on the podcast on the manufacturing side, powders, pills, things like that. I live that firsthand every week with some of the other work that I do right now. When we went into this, not only did we think that that this pea source, this vegan source of protein, which is great for you and healthy, had sort of been politicized in a weird way. Right. So, Mike, you mentioned carnivore. I am of the mind that health, wellness, fitness, food, like it is absurd that any of that was ever turned into a political vehicle. Okay, let me start with that. It's stupid, guys. Like you can quote me on this on the clip. Yeah. Okay. And I've lived it firsthand. And so In reality, we wanted to build something that we could protect the cost structure. Okay, so pea protein's very stable in a world where whey is going insane. That way, our consumer didn't have to wake up next year and be like, WTF, what happened to this? I can't afford it anymore. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, we own our supply chain and manufacture, so we can do a lot of protection there in a way that makes sense. It expands and can get us out in these verticals that matter outside of that. And at the end of the day, you do need protein. Proteinification is not bad. You should be aware of where the protein's being sourced from and how high quality it is. And if you're wrecking everything else in this effort to go get your protein number, but you're taking 180 grams of sugar by some coffee drink that's coming over here, you're sort of negating that, right? And so we've taken a lot of care and a lot of thought to say, is it healthy? Is it healthy for me? Is it healthy for the consumer? Is it healthy for somebody that may consider us, whenever they buy it out there? And so there's a lot of sort of structure and strategy around not just why we chose the ingredients, but how we think about the future of the ingredients too, Ben. So I love that people are more educated around macros, around what they need for their body, around what fuels your body comp, and around what prevents things as we age, that sort of breakdown out there. But not every gram of protein is created equal.
I couldn't agree more.
That was going to be my answer too, by the way, is like you just mentioned, like the Starbucks, invocation of the source is like, not all proteins are created equally. Not everything has BCAAs that are going to stack. There's so many different attributes to the source of protein that go so much farther beyond just the word itself. And I think that is what matters. And I think is directly correlated with Nate talking about trend versus fad.
Yeah, I watch a lot of like the controversy around this online, a lot of the chatter, and a lot of times I kind of stay out of the conversation because my only take is that I don't see a problem with consumers having 25, 30 grams more protein. I really rarely ever see a situation where that is net negative for a consumer, a healthy adult, and so the biggest concern that I end up having really is just the long-term implications in the supply chain. And I couldn't agree more with the way that you're looking at it, that, well, if you play the long game here, if you really do believe that consumers are going to latch onto the product, then the biggest issue for them is going to be the supply of it in the long term. It's not going to be the fad or the trend or anything of that. It's making sure they can continue to get it as you improve the flavors or add more flavors. So I love that thought process. I'm very excited to see where this conversation in the greater scheme goes, because I'm happy there's protein in more things. I'm happy there's an attention on it. I'm not happy that whey protein's getting, really beat down in pricing, because I'm not only a Gym Snap consumer, unfortunately. I do also like dairy proteins, but it's a good place for us to all be in fitness and supplements. I genuinely believe that it's a rising tide, even if Starbucks is eating our supply chain.
Same. Okay, so I love the product, but I love the product for what it is and what we've designed it to do. I ingest a lot of whey protein too, Ben. You know what I mean? And enjoy it, guys, in all honesty, and feel great on it. But again, to my point, I know it's tough for the consumer to even consider or understand source, but I'm very careful about who I buy whey protein products from. And I have probably a little more advantageous seat than 99.9% of the country, but you want to the earlier point, like, you want to feel good on it, right? Like, you don't want to do it just to check a box. Like, it's for your health, but it's also for your performance, and we went through this crazy meatless bubble when all of these sort of meat-free, meat substitute, meat fake things just crashed. And a lot of that was driven by politics and by Wall Street in some ways out there too, guys. It was almost like we went from one ditch, like where it's like, Beyond Meat, like in the future, like Wendy's was selling it, right? Like, it was insane, to like going the other way and we're back in another ditch. So there's a happy medium in there that can help you achieve your other goals, and you can feel great on it. It tastes great. You can enjoy it, and gives you a lot of latitude, and you don't put weird chemicals in your body that we weren't, eating 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Nate, looking for I'm asking for your crystal ball right now. So, seeing that companies are starting to look for alternatives to whey because the whey market and prices are going so high, do you foresee any issues in the pea market as well? Or like, are you down to the point where you know that they're spinning up more pea farms or anything like that? Like, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, we've got a great, I can't, share all of our secret sauce here, guys, okay, on there, but we are very confident in our supply chain. Okay, I'll say that. Again, guys, I'm kind of uniquely advantaged because I've owned manufacturing, I've sold manufacturing, I've been a first-party manufacturer, I've been a third-party manufacturer. I work with an excellent manufacturing chain right now in the in our sort of traditional sports supplement fitness world, and then I've been really fortunate to work with Brooks and the Louisville Brands team on this functional food side of this now. So it's something we think about because think about some of the great brands that have been flash in the pan and they've gone away. And maybe they weren't financially viable, or in some cases they sold to a bigger shark and the quality degraded, or the taste changed, things like that. So, we're really acutely aware of that. We want the consumer to have a great experience with the product. We want to help them achieve their goals out there. And one of the things that I think is interesting, at least in the plant protein space, is pea is not the only source. You have other sources there too, and some pretty cool products out there with pumpkin and watermelon and some of the roots and seeds that are maybe not native to what we do. And so there's some other options to do there. Pea is going to be our source, I think, for good. I think as we go into it, and partially because we're really comfortable with the formula and we're really proud of what the team at Louisville Foods have put together on it. But we'll watch it, guys. I mean, like anything. Supply chain related, there's a business aspect to it. I know I mentioned this earlier, but I do a lot of work in the whey protein space right now too, guys. And there's always ways to achieve your goals in that space too. And we'll take some of those lessons and some of those mechanics and some of the things that I've been able to do throughout my career in the Louisville Foods side too.
Cool. So in terms of Gym Snack, isn't that me? So what is the brand Gym Snack then? I want to ask, like, where's the future going? Is there a fourth flavor plan? But even bigger than that, let's say you find fava. Let's just say it's a fava bean protein or whatever, just because we've talked about that with Pepti Strong recently. So if you find a cool ingredient like a fava bean protein that makes sense, does that become a different product or just a different flavor? Do you have to do a new bit of re-education, or is Gym Snack pea protein, and then you maybe have to do another brand, and then another Louisville brand? Like, what's the plan here? You've
just articulated in that question the existential crisis that is Louisville Brands.
Yeah, okay,
like, is it? It could be any one of those things, depending on what it shakes out like and what we think the consumer wants or needs. And so, it could literally be another flavor expression in the Gym Snack universe. It could be potentially, let's say it has, again, I called out earlier that this isn't like a carb loading exercise. So it's not necessarily like long-term endurance type of benefit. All right, maybe we find something that is and launch an adjacent fitness snack. Maybe it's under the Gym Snack umbrella, or it's a different type, but that follows kind of that fitness ethos that maybe then has this. Now we've got this fitness cinematic universe to play with. Whether that's another brand or a sister brand or another product line, those are all the things that we go and kind of figure out according to our phases of commercialization. And our earliest phases of commercialization are very, very local and with our trusted friends and family. I say local kind of, again, more colloquially, where it's like we kind of put it in the nest and then figure out, does it have legs, and then associate some branding and packaging with it, because it's product first. I mean, I don't want people to get lulled into really beautiful packaging, which I do believe is one of our strong suits within Louisville Brands, is our design. I don't want them to go and say, oh, that's a really cool package, so I'm going to love the product, and then try the product and not dig it. So we go product first, and then packaging second. But then we get into phases of commercialization, and Ben was powerless from the electric sense when we were talking about this. We get into, okay, do we get a website spun up and start to sample people out and get into that more earlier commercialization process to the point where we then validate it, change some things, whatever. Sometimes we might retreat and say, okay, the thing that we're expressing or the mode that we've chosen is maybe not correct. That could be a variety of things. That could be form factor. That could be ingredient profile. That could be packaging. That could be the intended audience that we thought we were going to approach that is rejecting it. And all of these things are very malleable in the earliest phases that allow us then to make a really intelligent, we think, decision on how to proceed when it really does reach critical mass.
Mike, we do have a couple of other flavors already spun up, though.
That's a great lead.
There's big picture stuff, and then the small picture. We need new flavors.
It's some stuff we love, and quite frankly, it's at suggestions of merchants of certain retailers, and so might end up with some exclusivities. We'll see how this goes once we go through that, but yeah, that's one of the benefits of having R&D, having the chef on site, having the team really bought into it. Is nothing's crazy. If we want to try a different flavor, it might or might not work with our ingredient profile, but we can try and do some really cool line extensions too. And some things that I think have surprised us, Brooks. I mean, when somebody asks for like, well, can you do this flavor? We can try, and then really get a really interesting product out of it on the backside. We started with jalapeno cheddar and cheddar cheese because of what we talked about earlier around the nutritional yeast. You can give a great cheese umami sensation without the dairy. It's pretty cool. And a cool way to sort of fight against that. And then the Brooks earlier note about the everything bagel. When we tried that one, I'm like, this is it. It's the winner right here. And not everybody agrees with it, but I think most of our team, Brooks, it's our favorite, as we go into it. And so we've got some things that it just depends on what you like and how you like to snack and what you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. You're probably not going to buy an everything bagel snack if you don't already like everything bagels. So just
right.
go all in with that flavor and
lot.
assume that people are smart enough to know what they like.
Yeah, and it's occasions. I mean, again, it's like it's time of day, it's where you are in your workout, it's where you are in your life. There are a bunch of different, I think, factors that go into that, combined with when we're going and looking at more greater bodies of data that are available to us to be qualitative and quantitative about it. But again, the thing that is also just sort of a foundational element of where we're producing these things is that it's kind of inherently functional by design. It's kind of I don't want to say forced, but it's we are volunteering based on our certifications to achieve a certain level of cleanliness in our ingredients that really allow us to be really innovative and kind of challenge us to be innovative in how we look at different flavor profiles. And those flavor profiles end up being very interesting and still very healthy for people, which we think is kind of one of our superpowers.
Yeah, you guys kind of meet an exact spot in a graph that when we look at brands and where they are in the space, there's like size versus your I don't know how quickly you can turn on a dime when it comes to product development. You guys are big enough that you can answer a decent amount of demand from retailers, and you can communicate with buyers. A lot of times that we find companies that are like super in the weeds and seeds on R&D, they typically don't have enough buy-in in the industry to really be able to scale that. Like if you, right. Nate, your time at GNC with Glaxon, right? Like you guys helped them go from a very small brand that was not capable of working with large retailers and worked with them to bring their very interesting formulas to the masses. And so you guys are kind of exciting in that kind of case, because I imagine you can do small runs. Like you could do, I keep thinking of everything bagels because I'm from New Jersey and we claim bagels as ours. And you could do regional flavors if you wanted to. If you had a regional retailer that was in a certain area that had a regional flavor, you could do something just for them, or you could do something nationwide, and you can kind of juggle those. I was hearing you talking about like testing markets and stuff, and it's kind of exciting that you can do smaller stuff and then you could scale it up if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, we could even do that on Fulfilled by Amazon regionally too, if we really wanted to say, like, you're only, you have to access it from a certain area of the country, or else it's going to be, not available to you. So there's D2C and retail options for that, as well as wholesale from a digital perspective on a place like Fair. We can spin those things up and make them available in limited quantities and kind of pull that LTO lever.
Yeah. I mean, that's the huge rage right now is LTO stuff, creating demand out of scarcity. I was thinking about it kind of from the inverse of like thinking about the demand of a local area. I'm sure, I keep thinking of Pittsburgh with Nate. Like I'm sure there's some, all sorts of local flavors
Sure.
all over the country that you can pair with the saltiness or the umami.
100%.
Oh man, you could do. So I'm in my head. I'm already thinking of flavors like sriracha. I think works with something in an Asian market.
Yeah.
Then I was thinking Texas barbecue. My favorite barbecue place in Texas is called Style Switch. But like Stubbs barbecues at a lot of
Sure.
their sauces at a lot of stores. You could do some really cool Stubbs barbecue sauce.
Oh, yeah.
And then Philly cheesesteak if you're that's not Pittsburgh, but still like something like that would really work
We
with this.
tested a tikka marsala that's been really that's been received really well. There's a lot, and it's interesting because like you think about maybe that flavors that would be perceived either by name or by their seasoning as to be more ethnic. I mean, those are all seasoning and spices, so it's not like you're going and reaching out for some obscure thing. It's just those are traditionally used in other dishes that maybe we're not used to making mainstream in the United States. And so there's a lot of really interesting flavor profiles out there that we can play with, and we get really excited about that.
Let me say one other thing too, Brooks. It's a good point that probably would be interesting to listeners here too. So part of how we choose flavor profile is a real ingredient. And so, like, oftentimes when you go to get like a jalapeno chip, that's not jalapeno on the chip.
Right.
It's not, guys. It's like some kind of chemical thing. Like, we are doing everything the old style, like mortar and pestle. Like, it's actual, like, doing there. We're drying it the right way. We're building our. It's pretty amazing to see the team. They're super talented. I was blown away by them, Mike, the first time I met them. And it's a really, really cool thing to see. So when you and Ben come down for the Derby or something like that, we'll come you down and let you see how they're doing the spices and stuff like that too. It's pretty amazing.
This is a huge trend in flavoring right now across all sorts of foods and beverages. But it's the moving away, and I thought this was funny, moving away from natural flavoring to real flavoring.
Right.
It sounds silly, like we don't like natural flavors anymore because people want to have the actual ingredient.
Yeah.
And so, you're seeing, blue raspberry can't be made because there are no blue raspberries, but
That's
you can
true.
make a real strawberry or a real jalapeno.
That's right. Exactly right. Yep.
Kentucky Derby, you could do some sort of fun bourbon collab or whatever, right?
That's a cool idea. We've got some Tennessee flavors already in the hopper, which are interesting, I think. And so you've got some cool things. You guys sound like us. So it's
okay. This is getting exciting for some.
It might not all work, Mike, but you can try. Put
it in the Discord. We want to see what people want.
Yeah, put it in the Discord and see what the people want. Yeah.
We get so pigeonholed and they're thinking about the sweet snacks and originally the puppy chow, the chocolate peanut butter, frosted sugar, whatever, and it's like. Right. No, that's all been done. You could do that, I'm sure, and people will like it. But there's so many cool flavors and foods from all over the country, whether it's the Mexican food or the Asian food or the Texas barbecue, like all this stuff. And you guys have a platform that could really turn into some really fun snacks.
I had an idea over the Christmas break. When I was at Christmas, I tried something that made me think of Jim Snack. It's a bit of a stab, but I don't know. Candied walnuts. Are like almost the same texture and experience, but very sweet. And I felt like you could have done like a Christmas flavor with like candy walnuts or like a mixture of things with that.
Yeah, I mean, we could use maple syrup and get a sweetness there. Cinnamon, and we on the pumpkin seed sides of things, our latest flavor that we launched in mid-December was brown butter toffee, and I mean, it's like healthy cinnamon toast crunch.
Right,
it's delicious.
We'll have to try some of that too. And those are the pumps, right?
The pumps, yeah.
Okay. And so LouisvilleBrands.com is the website and everything.
That's a website where you can learn more about what Louisville Brands is and our sub brands. And you can navigate to any one of those brands from there. Jim Snacks, jimsnack.com. Pumps is eatpumps.com.
Yeah.
Jerky, loujerky.com. So we have individual websites and we go, get back into the marketing lesson. We first take them to a stage of minimum viability, and then we put a little bit more gloss on them when we get into the increased commercialization. So Jim Snack will get a glow up at some point in the first half of this year. We're really looking forward to that, but you can go and order direct to consumer all 3 flavors right now. Bundle and save.
Very, very good. Is there anything else to add? I don't want to hold you up too guys too long. I've had a blast here. Usually, yeah, we finish off with the websites, where to follow you and everything. We have some new stuff in 2026, so we'll have some gifts and everything as well. So any other things to add that we missed over here?
I'll mention one thing here real quick, gang, and this probably, unfortunately, this won't apply to a lot of folks out there, but we've been really intentional on sampling. We've been really intentional on TikTok, DTC, Amazon. We're just launching with, some great pantry partners. And when I say that, I mean literally for the first of the year here. So we're going into some, amazing campuses, offices. If you see it at school, if you're in a cooler than average office, I can't name all the offices out there. You'll start to see it in your pantries. Tech, finance, stuff like that, and even some professional sports teams going in there. So if you see it out there, grab us off the shelf. It's an employee benefit. Your employer is paying for it. So come check us out. A great way to sample it and let us know what you think.
Awesome. Okay. And great. And so where's the best way to follow you guys? Nate, you're LinkedIn or where are we at?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm great on LinkedIn, gang. Certainly anything with Gym Snack. I know we touched a little bit on the manufacturing side. I do a lot of work with some really, really excellent manufacturing partners as well. Always here to help. No matter where I can help there too. That's probably the best place to grab me. And then Brooks, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, LinkedIn's the best place you can talk to me. You can also, fill out the form on the Louisville Brands site if you want a little bit more of a company-oriented response in terms of how we could sell our products in your spaces or wanting to work with us, things like that. Comes to shared inbox, and I'm very much plugged into that. So would encourage anybody to go to LouisvilleBrands.com and fill out the form.
Yeah, but try it now. I'd encourage everybody to do that. You'll start seeing it on probably your local retail shelves if you're not in Kentucky or Pantry or some of these Amazon hotspots. You'll start to see that here in the spring in a lot more places.
Excellent. Okay, so in the show notes, we will have links to your profiles down at the bottom. We'll talk about everything we discussed here, as well as articles to our Gym Snack. We'll show the labels and all that, so you can check that out. Now, what's cool in 2026 is that we have secured a sponsor on the podcast, and it is in Perfect Shaker. So Darren over at Perfect Shaker, I think he's got your logo files, and as a gift, he's going to send you a branded shaker cup with Gym Snack on it. So that's going to be a fun thing that we're going to have this year. So thanks, Perfect Shaker. But thank you guys so much for joining, because this is an awesome episode. I love this stuff. Like at the end, coming up with new flavors and everything. I think Ben and I want in for any type of beta testing ever. So thanks a ton for your time. I don't know if I have anything else, Ben.
I want to see collabs. I want to see because. One thing I heard when we were talking about how do you beat that fatigue of protein, we were saying it. We didn't really say it, but another big time guest of the podcast, Dan Lorenzo, would always say authenticity is undefeated. And I think that is really what you guys are doing well. Is you're not showing up and copying anyone else. You are very uniquely presenting your own selves authentically, and it doesn't seem like it reminds me of anything else in the market. So if you guys continue that, I think that collabs make a lot of sense, because you're bringing these other ideas that seems like you already have and mixing with this really unique product. But thank you guys for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really excited for everything you guys are doing.
Thanks, fellas. Really
it's a pleasure, guys. Love you guys. Proud of you. I think your content's amazing, and anything else we can do to support. And again, if you got a reason to come down to Louisville, come down, and I think you'll be blown away by this team and the manufacturing, and they've got something special.
I have to work on pronouncing that.
Louisville.
Okay, gotcha. I'm too much of a Ohio boy. Too many vowels. And in the future, Nate, it would be cool to have a full deep dive Nate podcast as well, because you've done a lot of stuff before this. So even between,
I'd love to do that, and then again, guys, I know we've got some other things happening in the more traditional manufacturing side. Happy to help anybody that might need help there. I've spent a lot of time this year building something locally in Pittsburgh with an amazing team there that I wish I would have had during some of my prior retail wholesale DTC experiences, and so we're really proud of that. So happy to help there too.
Excellent. Well, we will stay in touch, guys. Congrats on your success so far. Thanks so much for your time.
Yep. Thanks everybody. We'll talk to you soon.